Hope the break was long enough. Trustee Abrego, will you please convene the Committee on Institutional Advancement?
Thank you, Chair Eisen. Will the Committee on Institutional Advancement please come to order? I note that no one has requested to address the committee during the public comment period today. The first item on today's agenda is the approval of the minutes from the July 2016 meeting. Are there any objections to the approval of the minutes? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. On today's discussion agenda, there are 2 action items and 1 information item. The first action item is an academic naming request from Cal Poly Pomona. Vice Chancellor Garrett Ashley will present the request. Please begin.
Thank you, Trustee Abrego. This item will consider naming the College of Agriculture at Cal Poly Pomona as the Don B. Huntley College of Agriculture. The naming recognizes Dr. Huntley's gift of his pistachio farm valued at $16.4 million to benefit the College of Agriculture. Dr. Huntley has also provided an additional $2.8 million in lifetime gifts to the university for a total commitment of $19.2 million. This gift will create a lasting legacy in the College of Agriculture, providing resources for research, scholarship, and polytechnic teaching and learning. Now I'd like to turn this over to President Coley to say a few words.
Thank you, Ashley. Good afternoon. Let me first ask you to turn your attention to the video about this marvelous naming gift that our alumnus, Don Huntley, is entrusting to our campus.
Businessman, farmer, scientist, art collector, philanthropist. Don B. Huntley is truly a Renaissance man and a generous alumnus of Cal Poly Pomona. The gift of his 475-acre pistachio farm will transform the College of Agriculture and elevate the stature of this university. Don Huntley graduated in 1960 with a degree in animal husbandry. In his early career, he worked in the veterinary pharmaceutical industry. A few years later, he purchased the first parcel of his pistachio farm in Fresno County, which was a prescient business decision. Pistachios were just beginning their rise in popularity in the United States, and scientists had only recently discovered a rootstock that suited the soils of the Central Valley. The trees have a long lifespan and are resilient to drought. Today, Don Huntley's pistachio farm produces over 800 tons of pistachios each year. Cal Poly Pomona is deeply grateful to Don for his unwavering commitment and generosity. It is only fitting that the College of Agriculture be named the Don B. Huntley College of Agriculture.
What the video didn't say is that Don himself comes from a humble background, growing up in the San Gabriel Valley and being raised by a working single mother. Don intended to become a cattle rancher, but later found his passion in growing pistachios. When it comes to farming, Don has the mentality of not just a farmer, but also of a businessman, a scientist, and a pistachio enthusiast. Not only is Don a strong benefactor of our College of Agriculture, Cal Poly Pomona's founding college, but he has also given a sizable art collection and established the Huntley Gallery, supported our biotechnology program, the College of Environmental Design, and our pipeline program for Native American students. Don has been honored with a Distinguished Alumni Award and an honorary doctorate. I believe that Don is worthy of this significant honor. He shares our vision to prepare and promote students for success. I applaud and admire Don's unwavering commitment and steadfast loyalty to Cal Poly Pomona. His gift will touch countless lives throughout our university and continue to bear fruit for decades to come. I believe his contributions are most deserving of a college that bears his name. Finally, I'd like to add that you will have the opportunity to enjoy the fruit of Don's pistachio farm. They will be given out later. I'd like to thank Don for providing these treats to us. Thank you, Trustee Abrego.
And thank you, President Coley. The naming of the Don B. Huntley College of Agriculture at California State Polytechnic University, Pomona, is an action item before the Committee on Institutional Advancement. Only committee members may vote at this time. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The naming of the Don B. Huntley College of Agriculture is approved. President Coley, would you please escort Dr. Huntley to the lectern where he will be joined by Chancellor White and Chair Eisen.
I'm overwhelmed with all this. I'm very fond of my school. Thank you.
So thank you, Don, for your generous support of the students and faculty, the staff and alumni of Cal Poly Pomona, support that has now surpassed 5 decades. Listening to the video, Renaissance Man, I think there's got to be a song about this guy. Perhaps the most apt description of your diverse passion, your expertise, your experience, and quite frankly, your generosity. And certainly, Don, your passion for farming and business, for art and wine is surpassed only by your passion for Cal Poly Pomona and your steadfast support of our university's mission, its vision and values, and its students. So it's a great joy and privilege to join with President Coley and Chair Eisen and all of the trustees in thanking you for all that you've done for the students of Cal Poly Pomona and the CSU, and to honor your work, your generosity, and your legacy by the naming of the Don B. Huntley College of Agriculture. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, we have for you a framed resolution that is complete with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 whereases. That's a lot of pistachios, Don. But the last whereas is in appreciation of Dr. Huntley's transformational support of Cal Poly Pomona, the College of Agricultural Faculty, the Executive Committee of the Academic Senate unanimously approved recognition naming now, therefore be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of the California State University that the College of Agriculture at California State Polytechnic University, Pomona, be named the Don B. Huntley College of Agriculture. Signed this day, September 21st. Don, thank you, sir. Over here and get a picture.
I wasn't expecting anything like this, frankly, but I'm very appreciative of your gifts to me, and I'm appreciative of having gone to Cal Poly Pomona and gotten a degree and ended up in the San Joaquin Valley in Fresno, and I farm on the west side about 15 miles south of Harris Ranch Restaurant off of I-5, and those pistachios have been very good to me over the years. And it helps to be able to give to other entities for me, and my orchard's going to end up at Cal Poly Pomona. So I made that idea up about 10 years ago. So I'm very appreciative. And I've never met a better bunch of people in my long time in farming. And I'm very grateful for the degree I got. Unfortunately, it was animal husbandry, and I didn't go that way.
Well, we're glad you made a good decision.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Don.
We're going to take a picture.
Well, thank you, Chancellor White. The second action item on today's agenda is a facility naming request from California State University, Los Angeles. Vice Chancellor Garrett Ashley will once again present the request.
Thank you, Trustee Abrego. This item will consider naming Wing B in the Wallace-Annenberg Integrated Sciences Complex at Cal State LA as the James M. Rosser Hall. The proposed naming recognizes the 34-year presidency of James M. Rosser, one of the longest-serving presidents of a public university in the nation. President Emeritus Rosser has been one of Cal State LA's largest and most consistent donors, with his gifts funding a 7-figure endowed scholarship for scholar athletes majoring in the STEM fields. During his tenure, Cal State LA received the largest cash gift given to a CSU campus at the time, establishing the Luckman Fine Arts Complex and the Luckman Jazz Orchestra. He was also instrumental in connecting alumna Billie Jean King to the campus and establishing the endowed scholarship that bears her name. I now turn this over to President Covino to say a few words.
President Rosser has, as you've heard, left a long and rich legacy at Cal State LA. As the university's 6th president, Jim established nationally acclaimed programs that continue to contribute to our students' success. An early advocate of STEM education, Jim Rosser supported the creation of the Minority Opportunities in Research programs, the MORE programs. Today, Cal State LA is recognized by the National Science Foundation as a leader for our unparalleled success in graduating students of color who go on to earn the PhD in the STEM fields. Cal State LA's Honors College, our state-of-the-art Hertzberg Davis Forensic Science Center, our Charter College of Education were created with Jim Rosser's stalwart support and guidance. He laid the foundation for Cal State LA's success today, and it is my honor to continue the great work he started and to build upon that foundation. By honoring President Rosser with this naming, we honor his uncompromising vision, his commitment to academic excellence, and his dedication to diversity. These are, of course, the ideals that define the CSU, and his ideals and his dedication have for so many years defined the successes of the CSU. Thank you for the opportunity to recognize Jim Rosser.
Thank you, President Covino. Agenda item number 2, the naming of the James M. Rosser Hall at California State University, Los Angeles, is an action item before the Committee on Institutional Advancement. Only committee members may vote at this time. May I have a motion to approve?
I move.
Is there a second? Second. After the discussion, if any, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The naming of the James M. Rosser Hall is approved. President Covino, would you please escort Dr. Rosser to the lectern where he will be joined by Chancellor White and Chair Eisen.
So thank you, Jim, for joining us today and for your continued support of Cal State LA, indeed the entire California State University. You know, as I was thinking about this item, the words youngest and university president don't often go together, at least in my personal experience. Yet for you, Jim, being the youngest person appointed as a CSU campus president meant that you had more time to shape an even greater legacy to impact the lives of even more students, faculty, staff, and ultimately alumni, to build with the greater luster that campus gem up on the hill overlooking the communities of a great city of Los Angeles that is so much part of its vision and its identity. Jim, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Chancellor. I would first like to thank President Covino and the entire Cal State Los Angeles community for its support relative to this naming. I also would certainly like to thank the Chancellor and the members of the Board of Trustees, not only for this action today, but for having supported me, for those of you that I did have the opportunity to get to know and serve under, for those few years that I had left before retiring. I also want to thank my presidential colleagues, both present and past, and Tom Day was one of those individuals who helped to provide me with the support and advice that enabled me to serve the CSU and the people of the state of California for 34 years. It's been an honor and it's been a privilege to have been able to provide that level of support and hopefully help to build a further legacy of the California State University for years to come. So thank you very much on behalf of Jim Rosser and his relatively small but still active family.
So on behalf of Chair Eisen and the entire Board of Trustees, Jim, we have a recognition of facility naming in your behalf with a series of whereas, the last being that you has a commitment to excellence, to mentoring and encouraging countless individuals to become college and university presidents across the country and around the world. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of the California State University that Wing B of the Wallace Annenberg Integrated Sciences Complex at Cal State University, Los Angeles, be named the James M. Rosser Hall. Congratulations, Jim, signed on September 22nd. Jim, you got a holder for the name after moving the clip, and one side, on the other, and I will.
Thank you, Chancellor White. Our information item is the 2016-17 California State University Trustees Award for Outstanding Achievement presentation. The awards are given each year to those students who demonstrate superior academic performance, personal accomplishments, community service, and financial need. I would like to thank Trustee Kimball for serving on the CSU Trustees Award Selection Committee, as well as other members who served on the CSU Foundation Board of Governors. CSSA, Alumni Council, and Academic Senate for their time and dedication in reviewing applications. The committee was responsible for designating top awards, which include the Trustee Emeritus Ali C. Razi Scholar, the Trustee Emerita Claudia Hampton Scholar, and the Trustee Emeritus Murray L. Gellison Scholar. Each nominee is so outstanding that it is a challenging task to select those scholars who will receive additional recognition. Traditionally, one scholar is recognized from each campus, but this year we have the pleasure of two scholars from CSU San Bernardino. One selected as the top scholar receiving the Ali Razi Scholarship and one receiving the Lou Manuel Scholarship. Scholarships range from $6,000 to $12,000 to support these outstanding student scholars as they continue their academics. Thank you all to the scholars for your tremendous contributions to our universities and communities. I wish you well in your future endeavors. And with that, I would like to ask Chancellor White to come to the podium to begin this year's award recognition.
Well, thank you, Trustee Abrego. I forgot to grab my book. The 24 stories that are in the booklet in front of you, and I trust you each have a copy, and if not, I'm sure there's more on the back table, are testaments to the power of perseverance, of opportunity and achievement through higher education. Indeed, the students we are celebrating today all represent the values of the California State University and the 6 decades of access and opportunity, of transformation and impact through public higher education. We as a university, as a community, certainly really as Californians, are better and stronger today because of their stories. Inherent in these students is the idealistic, hopeful, dream-driven, and hardworking spirit that has defined California since its founding 166 years ago this month. It is therefore fitting that the Board of Trustees takes a moment every year to celebrate these scholars, and I thank all of the trustees, past and present, who have generously contributed to this scholarship program. I would also like to acknowledge the members of the CSU Foundation Board of Governors who have helped make this program possible as well, especially those able to join us here today. We have Ron Barhorst and his wife Mitzi. Ron serves as the CSU Foundation Chair. We have Kristen Krellen from the school's First Credit Union and husband Bob. We have Michael Lizarraga and his wife Oneida and his company Telecu are sponsoring a scholar studying psychology from Stanislaus, as well as our reception later this afternoon. Mike Lucky and his wife Debbie, who are sponsoring today's outstanding scholar from Cal State LA. Ralph Pesquera and his wife Eva are sponsoring the Maritime Academy's student studying marine transportation, and Donna Ushida from Kaiser Permanente. We also have a very warm spot and always an embrace for our special guest, Paget Kaiser, former trustee Bill Hauk's wife. Paget, thank you for making the sojourn to Long Beach. It's wonderful to see you. I've saved the introduction of Trustee Emeritus Ali Razi for last. His stalwart leadership continues to expand this program. He's a member of our foundation board and chairs the CSU Trustees Award Selection Committee. The top scholar this year receives a $12,000 scholarship thanks to Ali and his wife Anna Shea's generosity. Ali, would you please join me at the podium and offer your comments? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chancellor White. It's good to be back home. It is such a great privilege to be part of a process to honor such great students, remarkable students. Their will to succeed despite of the challenges and struggles they have is remarkable. These students excel academically, and they are very committed to make a difference in their community. They are a great example of the leaders of the future of California. I would like to thank Chancellor White, Board of Trustees, Trustees Emeriti, CSU Foundation, Board of Governors, the Chancellor's Office staff for making this program possible. Thank you, Chancellor.
I'd like to introduce you to this year's Razi Scholar, Catherine Grizel from San Bernardino. Catherine, could you join us, please? And as she's joining us here, she is the Razi Scholar this year, an outstanding mathematics student working to empower young people through education. Let's hear her story before she provides some comments.
I think one of my all-time favorite quotes is that the Titanic didn't sink because of the water around it, it sunk because of the water inside of it. So if you're kind of floating in this sea of negativity, don't let that get inside of you and bring you down, because if you don't let it in, you can continue to sail and you just get through it. But the moment that you crack and you let that in, that's what brings you down. So just don't let yourself crack under the pressure. Don't let that in. And as long as you don't, you'll be okay.
Katie was a student in my Calculus 2 class, and I noticed her immediately because she sat in the front center and was probably the most attentive person in the class. She just kind of stuck out for me as somebody who took education very seriously. It was important to her.
I was just completely impressed with her ability to maintain the grades that she had maintained despite all that she had been through.
When I was first born, I lived with my mom, my older sister, and my grandparents in Corona, California. And then my mom met and married my stepdad. So when I was about a year and a half old, we moved to Alabama. And then when I was 6, we moved to South Carolina.
Her background was not good, and I would put not good in all caps. She was abused from the time she was 3 years old, sexually abused. She had to live with a mother that was an alcoholic, the stepdad that was an alcoholic also. Mom never finished school, so the stepdad was the only one bringing in money, and it wasn't even enough to keep an apartment or food on the table.
At one point in her life, she was homeless.
I mean, even when we weren't sleeping in our cars, even when we were in a motel or at someone's house, it was so difficult because you never really felt like you belonged there. You always felt like you were out of place, and you were always constantly worried about, where does my next meal come from, and when is this going to end, and am I going to sleep outside tonight? And it just, I mean, it's hard.
And when she was able to escape for a while, she moved out with her sister. Her sister was struggling to make ends meet.
I don't know where I would be without her. When she found out what was going on, she really stepped up, and she basically told my mom, I'm not going to let you do this to her anymore. I'm not going to let you let someone else do this to her. I'll do whatever I have to. I think she's so incredibly brave for stepping up and, you know, being so young and having a daughter of her own and just doing all the things that my mother should have done and never did. I'll never be able to repay her for all that. I was 16 years old when I was finally able to leave South Carolina and come back to California. And I think the best thing about that for me was just the feeling of safety, that now I'm all the way across the country. I don't have to worry about who's going to come for me. I don't have to worry if people are going to, you know, try to hurt me in the middle of the night or things like that. So I could focus more on my school and focus on just trying to get some sense of normalcy in my life.
Katie, other than my own 2 girls, is probably the most wonderful young lady I've ever met in my life. And I would adopt her in a minute. She knows where she wants to go, and she's going to get there.
One of my staff members shared with me Katie Grizzle's journey, first to a community college and then transferring with a straight 4.0 to Cal State San Bernardino.
And when I was applying for schools at the end of my community college career, Cal State San Bernardino is the only one who gave me a chance. And from the moment I got here, I've just felt like this is where I'm supposed to be, and I've been working so hard, and I've had so many amazing teachers so far. I mean, if I didn't have my education, I wouldn't have anything. I would still be in that cycle of addiction and poverty, and I would probably marry into the same issues that my mom married into.
I believe that's motivated her to be the very best student, but also to give back to the community by volunteering her time and service to not only the K-12 community, but to nonprofit organizations that address issues of sexual assault, homelessness, abuse, and domestic violence.
I'm not going to stop at my bachelor's degree. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to get a master's. I'm going to get a PhD. It's something that I'm going to instill in my kids and in every person that I meet.
I think that the driving force behind Katie pressing so hard to get through college and do better for herself is the fact that she knows that she will never have to go back to the life that she lived before, and to know that she will have an effect on someone else's life, so they possibly won't have to live the same life or a similar life in the future.
She sees in students what many don't see because she's been there. And she knows she can make things better. And she knows how to do it. I cannot wait to have her as a teacher because she will do amazing things.
If I could talk to my younger self, I think I would just tell her that it gets better. And I think I would tell her to just keep doing what you're doing. Just keep your nose in the books, just keep working hard, just don't let anybody tell you that you can't do whatever it is that you want to do. And just, I mean, keep looking ahead and just know that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and that if you keep working, you're going to reach it, and just don't give up.
Well, Katie, you kept the water out. Your story of empowerment is going to help keep so many others keep the water out. Please share a few words with us.
Thank you, Chancellor White. And on behalf of my fellow recipients, thank you all for believing in us. I know my fellow recipients cherish this award and our CSU education, and the recipients here will carry on the legacy of this award through the educational foundation that we have received at the CSU. Thank you.
Give us a chance to compose ourselves, Katie. I want to thank you and ask Chair Eisen and Trustee Abrego to join us at the podium. And we're pleased to introduce the 24 recipients to you today, and Trustee Abrego will call each of them forward to receive a certificate of recognition. And we're going to honor Katie here first as well. Is that true? Okay. So let's move over. How do you want the pictures, Mike? Okay.
Well, it's gonna. It's my pleasure to reintroduce our trustee emeritus Ali Razi, scholar Catherine Grizzle. She is finishing her bachelor's and is on track for a teaching credential. Catherine works in the community to raise awareness of sexual abuse and is also involved in a number of organizations that inspire young women to pursue educational and career opportunities in STEM fields. Thank you. We will announce in campus order the rest of the nominees. So the next scholar is An Nguyen. An Nguyen is a sophomore majoring in biochemistry with dreams of becoming a pharmacist. She overcame a language barrier to excel in the Intensive English Language Center at Bakersfield and now tutors other Vietnamese American students who are at first-generation English language learners. Natalie Ticombe is devoted to her goal of becoming a nurse in pediatric oncology or neonatal intensive care, a driven student in Channel Islands nursing program. She immerses herself in campus leadership roles and community service. Her greatest joy comes from serving others. After graduation, Natalie is looking forward to enrolling in a doctorate of nursing practice program. Claudia Martinez Pureco attends Chico, where she is pursuing a bachelor's degree in concrete industry management. A first-generation and DREAM Act student, she is a role model to high school students, encourage them to work hard and aspire to attend college. While active in several organizations, she co-founded Women in Concrete Industry Club to help spread awareness of women in the field. She hopes to one day start a foundation to provide opportunities for other minority women and DREAM students. Bertha Betty Solares, a proud mother of 2 daughters, is a human services major with a minor in sociology at Dominguez Hills. She has 8 years of volunteer experience with local schools and is an intern at the Tarzana Treatment Center, working with patients being treated for substance abuse and mental health issues. She plans to earn a master's degree in social work so she can help the less fortunate. Ashley A.J. Walker is a gifted artist with perfect pitch. Despite being born deaf, overcoming his speech impediment through singing, A.J. is working towards a master's degree in choral conducting at East Bay. A.J. directs a singing society choir while teaching undergraduate courses in sight singing and voice. After graduation, A.J. plans to travel to South Africa to exchange choral strategies and plans to pursue a doctorate in musical arts with the hopes of directing a collegiate choral music program. Tranice Warner could not be with us today, but let me share, she is a civil engineering major with emphasis in water resources, and geotechnical engineering at Fresno. She is conducting research in groundwater subsidence in California's Central Valley. Tranice is planning to pursue a PhD in civil and environmental engineering and work on establishing sustainable urban development systems. Yay, Tranice. William McCoy, a United States Marine Corps veteran, is pursuing a bachelor's degree in communications at Fullerton. William transferred from community college, where he served as president of the Student Veterans Group and was a member of the 3 honor societies. As a father, husband, and first-generation college student, William strives for educational success and plans on pursuing a master's degree in business management. Morgan Danielle Burris is a senior at Humboldt, working towards a bachelor's degree in social work. As someone who experienced recovering from traumatic brain injury, Morgan was inspired by the care she received from social workers to pursue a career in helping others. As a mother of 2, she has been resilient in her recovery and determined in her academic endeavors. She has started an internship program with Making Headway, the organization that assisted her and many other people recovering from brain injury. Mark Akipau Mark Akipau is a sophomore majoring in computer engineering at Long Beach. Mark has been involved with the Association for Computing Machinery Club and is now engaged in student government. Mark's intellectual curiosity has led him to study how computer engineering can advance the use of holograms in everyday life. He plans to use his college experience to become an innovator and create the next generation of revolutionary technologies. Amelia Castaneda faced unique challenges as a first-generation college student, but a research program geared towards students like her eased the transition. Amelia is earning a master's degree in history from Los Angeles. She enjoys working in the Department of Archives and Special Collections. Amelia has developed and taught her own seminar on Latina civic identity. She was recently awarded the Institute of Museum and Library Services Rare Book School Fellowship this summer and hopes to become a Los Angeles public historian. David Cantingen Shamian is pursuing his second bachelor's degree at California Maritime Academy, majoring in marine transportation. He shifted course from his original plan to go to dental school when he realized his passion was the sea. David serves as a deck company executive officer for the Corps of Cadets and has extensively volunteered in tutoring other cadets. He became the head officer on cruise ships. Amanda Lucci has excelled in her studies for a mathematics degree at Monterey Bay, making the dean's list each semester. Motivated by concern for the environment, Amanda has led the university's garden club and worked at the Return of the Natives Restoration Education Project. She is also an officer in Food Advocates for Real Meals Club, which works to get locally sustainable food on campus. As a future math teacher, she plans on blending math modeling with environmental and food issues. O'Shea Rogers is an undergraduate student at Northridge, majoring in both history and Africana studies while on the teacher credential track. O'Shea's passion for youth and education inspired him to become a classroom volunteer. He also helped to document the ancestry of slaves with the Freedmen's Bureau and is a member of the National Society of Collegiate Scholars. O'Shea is setting his sights on a doctorate of education with the goal of becoming a principal and eventually serve on the school board in his community. Sabrina Lemon is a double major in general anthropology and history at Pomona. Before transferring to Pomona, Sabrina earned 3 associate degrees in automotive technology, language arts, and history. She works full-time as a motorcycle technician and enjoys participating in charity rides and training new motorcycle riders. She currently tutors fellow classmates and hopes that she might one day become a tenured professor to help struggling students achieve their educational goals as well. Malika Melissa Murray is a doctoral candidate in the Educational Leadership Program at Sacramento, the first EDD student to receive this award. Malika is committed to improving opportunities for marginalized students and participates in a variety of volunteer activities. As creative director of Sisters of Nia, she provides a cultural-based after-school program for middle school girls from urban communities. We hope someday to find Malika as a professor in our teacher preparation program. Maria Ceja is a single mom and community college transfer student earning a bachelor's degree in social work at San Bernardino. Maria works as an advocate for Project Sister Family Services, helping survivors of abuse and sexual assault. Maria plans to continue to earn a graduate degree and become a licensed social worker so she can make a meaningful impact in the lives of others. Susana Najera is a first-generation college student at San Diego who is double majoring in cellular and molecular biology and Spanish with a minor in chemistry. She has joined 11 honor societies and contributed countless hours to volunteer with underserved populations, including mentoring middle and high school students. Susanna participated in interdisciplinary summer programs for undergraduates that incorporate research experiences and now plans to complete a doctoral degree focused on infectious diseases and conduct clinical research in biomedical sciences. Marisa Somono Himison is pursuing a dual bachelor's degree in English education and Spanish with a minor in comparative literature at San Francisco. She is a bilingual literacy tutor for American Reads, providing support for elementary students who are far below grade level standards. And after graduation, Marisa plans on becoming a high school teacher or college professor so that she can work with urban and immigrant youth. Andy Nguyen is a junior at San Jose, earning a bachelor's degree of fine arts in graphic design with a minor in public relations. Andy has been a student volunteer and an activist for several organizations, including the Red Cross and San Jose City Library. He uses his passion for photography to benefit children with disabilities through his numerous fundraising exhibitions. Andy's ultimate goal is to earn a master's degree and teach art at a local high school. Salvador Cortez Soencat was inspired by the life of Nicola Telsa and inspires to work for a company built around electricity. To further that dream, he is a sophomore electrical engineering major at San Luis Obispo. Salvador is actively involved in the Future of Fuels Club and Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. In the summers, he volunteers at the local library's reading program, planning and implementing activities for children. After college, he plans to work on what he loves, electric cars and electricity. Carolina Quirate is a first-generation college student in her sophomore year at San Marcos. A family member's battle with cancer has been the catalyst of her pursuit for a career in nursing. Carolina is an intern at Palomar Medical Center, learning valuable clinical skills, and has been exposed to the rigors of a nursing career. Recently, she was promoted as a medical interpreter for Spanish-speaking patients. She plans to continue her education through a master's degree in nursing. Elizabeth Velvarde Campos is working towards a bachelor's degree in biochemistry at Sonoma. She earned both Presidential Scholar and McNair Scholars Honors. Elizabeth has been active in tutoring since high school and continues to help fellow chemistry students understand complex compounds and concepts through the Tutorial Center at Sonoma State. Her goal is to work on breakthrough medical techniques in creating new molecules and working as a professor at a research institution. Sierra Demi Solis is a transfer student in Stanislaus, earning a bachelor's degree in psychology. Sierra serves as the vice president of the Pi Chi Honor Society, where she participates in community service related to psychology. She also works part-time as a behavioral technician at the Candle Center, providing therapy to children diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. So, Kyra plans to earn a graduate degree and work as a clinical supervisor. We are honored to recognize all of your achievements and determination in pursuing your goals. The dedication and resilience you have demonstrated has strengthened your resolve to accomplish any feat. Trustees, I present to you the CSU Trustee Award recipients of 2016. I invite everyone to join us in the Wallace Room foyer and the courtyard for a reception sponsored by Telecu and the Tamayo Restaurant to celebrate our CSU Trustees Scholars. Chair Eiston, that concludes the business of the Institutional Advancement Committee.
Thank you, Trustee Abrego, and congratulations again to all of our distinguished recipients, whom we are going to meet in a minute at the reception. Trustees and scholars, this concludes our meeting for today. We will reconvene at 8:30 tomorrow morning. Thank you.
This is the California State University Office of the Chancellor's live stream. Please adjust your audio